Just FYI. Okay, so we should like talk through like the PR and all the design decisions. I know you've got stuff. So there's two things we should accomplish. I know you got a bunch of stuff that you probably want to talk through as to like design improvements and jackline. But I gotta get caught up. I haven't looked at your stuff in for a long time. So where do you think we should start?
We can start again on Walker API.
Okay. All right. Yeah, feel free to. I guess I can. Let me check out your PR real quick. And then sometimes it's better, I guess, if you drive, but I can learn more if I'm like in the code, you know. Let's see. So
Actually, the implement pin ang separate. I think I will just close that PR since
this one.
yeah, I think I'm good now in a single pin. There's other way that we can just adjust on the list of edges that it
Oh,
should be better, something like that.
so you have a good way to do it. I mean, and it's just as performant, right?
Yeah, I can show it later.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, let's leave it open. Let's leave it open, and then because I thought I actually totally. I mean, I'm totally fine with the change. I'm totally fine with the change if it's useful, if it gives us like some advantage. But if you've got something simpler that we don't need it, then of course we go with simpler, dude. So okay. All right. So basically, I'm just gonna leave that around just a little longer. But let's go to your this one, right? No, where is it? This one.
The Pass API.
Yep, this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. Okay. All right. I don't know what I was doing. Oh, this is Pavi's. That's Pavi's thing. So let me just get out of this branch. Let's see if we get pulled just in case. Okay. And then I'm going to do a clean. All right. So I got to do this. Okay. And do we have like tests don't pass? Do the tests pass on this branch right now or?
Currently there's no test yet.
Okay.
Since I'm not, I'm still finalizing the
Okay. Sure. Of course. But I'm wondering if like if this is breaking, like if this would break previous tests at the moment. I guess we could find out. Let me just do a pie test. I would expect it to, right? Because this is some pretty intense changes. But let's just jump in and kind of look at the relevant bits. Is this still like the accurate kind of like example? Is this with all the new stuff that you recently did?
yes, okay.
Okay.
That copy should stay.
It should represent how we're doing it. Okay. And then via decorator, cool. Okay, so you support both, and then this is what it looks like. Okay, cool. Old implementations. All right, cool. This is good. Okay. All right. So let me see if I can mentally map this. So Walker API is probably where you want to start, right? I mean let me just go to your folder. How do I close all these? Oh, whatever. I'll find it. In here, right? It's this one. Okay. So where's the key entry point? Is it in it? Load.env?
On the set viewer.
Okay.
No, on the plugin.
Oh, I see. So it's Walker API. I see what you're saying. It's in here, right?
Yep.
Plugins, Walker API, blah. So plugins, Walker API. Okay. All right. So
So on Walker API, the update is we now support file upload.
okay.
So technically we support now everything,
Okay.
including multi-platform data, query, variable, the body, JSON body, and um, every walker will generate two endpoints.
Mm-hmm.
First one is with root entry. So
Mm-hmm.
if we don't specify the entry node ID or root ID on the URL, it will be on the root entry point.
Mm-hmm.
If you specify the node ID as path variable, it will be triggered on that node.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the current support on Walker API.
Okay. So basically, like if I was to visualize how the plugin works, when you do Jack, right? Let's just start at the beginning, right? So when you do Jack, basically is it a Jack run? So basically, if you do a Jack run and it has the Walker, so so I guess what I'm getting to is there's this Jack plugin, right? Right, and so basically your implementation will start with populate APIs. So basically the first Walker that's encountered would call this, when you're loading the module, would call this populate APIs. And then this populate APIs is what's going to create, it's going to start the fast API kind of server, which would be like app or something. Is that right? API router.
It will not start the fast API, but it will just generate the endpoint for fast API. It will not yet run.
I see. So at what point does fast API start running? It's at Jack's load, right?
No, sir. You need to trigger it manually.
Oh, how does that work?
In entry. So on the bottom part of the sample in the PR, there's a start.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, so basically here, at the bottom part of the example, right? Oh, I see. So you have this, that, start. Interesting. Okay, that's fine. So start is because you're importing it from here. Got it. Okay, that's fine. This could also happen inside we could just make this, you could just make this part of what it is to run Jack with your thing, or you could add a command line. Like your plugin can now have command line arguments that you add to Jack. So you can have Jack serve, and then instead of Jack run, you can have Jack serve, and then the Jack would change to have that new command, and that would automatically call start, So there's ways, there's like elegant ways to do it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So like, let me show you, like in Jack run. So in like Jack run, there's this Jack import. So you essentially could take a command like this, like Jack run, copy it and call it start. And you could do this via plugin, and I have an example of, actually that other example in example plugins on main is just adding a command line argument in your plugin. So you can basically just copy this code, and then around this Jack import, you could put Jack start here. Oh, like you'd be able to put start here if you call this like Jack serve or something, right? So you could actually make that part of the plugin, which would be super clean, super sexy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I still need to check it since I'm not familiar yet on the CLI.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you're curious, I can show you. This came in recently, by the way. Like, oh wait, not that. Let's close this. What skill is this? Oh, Walker API. This guy. So this actually has a setup.py, and then this adds a command called show, and this is what it looks like. The plugin. It's just a create command, and then you put show inside of this register that you import. Right? You import this stuff from Jack. And so you just it looks exactly like whatever, but this will just add your new command, and these commands turn into like this register uses a function signature to automatically create your CLI. Yeah, and actually, if for some more like insight, like this also came in recently. So you may not have seen it, but let me just do a new window actually. So, I mean, a really good spot of the repo that will kind of talk about this is, let me make sure I merged it. I think I merged it. I think I did. Wait, no, CLI. Jack Lang, CLI. This one, this document. So this document kind of gives you, it's like a little documentation on the CLI, how it works, but all of these commands like run, like we just looked at run, we just looked at clean, it's all inside. So you can kind of see like the CLI, a little bit more information about the CLI in this document, but basically this example plugin command show is a good example of how you can do it. And so any of these commands over here, these are the built-in ones, right? Like run and stuff. Any of these commands could be the body of yours. And then you can inject like, your, what is it? Like this start could happen after. So then someone could just write their code and then on serve, it'll just work. On run, it would just do whatever. Yeah, it's just a detail, just letting you know about it. Anyway, all right, we can go back. Okay, so that's what starts the thing, and then your populate, but your populate will do its magic. Let me see, populate. This guy, and so when it populates. It'll actually initialize it'll create the fast API stuff. And then I guess the other relevant commands is like where your API is invoked. Your API is invoked through these other entry points, right? Like get root.
Just the additional process upon triggering the spawn walker.
Okay.
So on the bottom part, can you search API root or API entry underscore root? Yeah. So that one, the API entry. So it will call the API entry just to redirect it without entry point. So on the upper part. Can you scroll up your own?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you'd like to drive, maybe that would be better. You want to do that?
Oh, sure.
You know,
Okay.
because I know how annoying it is to help someone navigate. Navigate remotely. All right. Time for me to send. Ooh. All right.
Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
So on Walker API, here on API entry. So these are the two endpoints that will be generated. API root is the example for Walker name. This is the API root. The API entry will be the Walker name then node ID. Here's the API entry. So upon entry of the API call, I will generate the context, and this will be the memory handling and
Mm-hmm.
also the request holder. This entry point will be the, if it's specified, which is the node ID, it will be the entry point of that request. If
Mm-hmm.
it's none, this one, it will be the root of the current user.
Okay.
Then I will populate every required fields from body, query, and files. Then I will trigger the spawn call using that entry point. So I will initialize the walker, then I will spawn call the walker, then response the generated reports
Mm-hmm.
or the return. Actually, the return will only return the initial entry of the spawn call. So for example, this one, we have post with body. I have two returns.
Mm.
So if my entry point is this one,
Mm-hmm.
it will only have this return.
Mm-hmm.
However, we can use the reports if you want to get some values on the visited nodes. So if
Mm.
you trigger the reports, the request will be something like, oh wait, I have sample here. I will share my whole screen. Can you see my screen?
Yep. Yep. We got it.
Mm-hmm.
I see. So you're using the report similar to Jaseci 1, I guess?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Reasonable.
So here's the sample. So there's here the data is the return, the actual return, then
Yep.
status. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to change it, you can change it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reports if
Beautiful.
you use the report.
Cool.
And that's the current return preview.
Mm-hmm.
And um wait,
By the way, this is looking really. I'm like super excited because this looks like really good. I mean, that what was it called? Entry API. Could we look at that real quick? I just have a couple quick questions on that. Um,
this one.
yeah. So on this one, so this context thing worked, right? Like I guess that was a good solution, huh? The context
Yes.
stuff. Yeah. Sweet. Okay. Now the question is, um, so when you get the payload, like, how are you processing the has variables? Do that have to be like how do you detect the has variables?
So on the populate API here, where's that? On this populate API,
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting every uh, data class field
Got it.
from the,
Smart. Good. That makes
then
sense. Yep. Go ahead.
the default will be in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So the default would be in the body, but if you
Oh
specify
yes.
it as
So
a as
beautiful.
query,
Mm-hmm.
it will be
In the
it
ask
will
query.
be yeah. And if it's on path, for example, you have something like this bar one. This will also be um, auto populate or auto tag the hash variable bar one to be as
Mm-hmm.
path variable.
Yep. Yep.
So that's the
That's clean. That's super clean.
and on the file type. So I check the this one. So if it's a file type, I will just include it as a file
Okay. So
Yes.
so so that kind of is all like from the user's experience. Like, what do they have to do that's special for files?
So if they want to add some file upload,
Okay,
they
you
can
have a
use this
file
one.
type. Interesting. Okay, interesting.
So there's a four types of file.
I would love to see what the
So
curl looks
file,
like what the curl command looks like. I guess it'll use multi-part and all that in the curl command.
yeah, it will use the multi-part
That's
form data.
crazy. And that file is from Fast API, like that file class.
This is overridden from but from Fast API.
Cool, good, sweet.
So if they specify this one, it will automatically convert the API to multi-part form data. So for example, this one. So
Okay.
as you can see here, it's automatically multi-part form data. So if
Mm-hmm.
I remove this file, here,
This is
so
good.
it will be application JSON.
Cool, 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 cool. All right, all right. Interesting. And is okay. Let me think. Can I ask you a question so far? Was there anything weird? Like, has everything been elegant when it comes to the design of this? Is there anything weird? Any workarounds? Any hacks you had to do so far?
Mm, rel- if we, I mean, it related to the filtering
Okay,
of
okay,
images, but
okay. Cool. We'll get there.
regarding
Yeah.
endpoints,
Yep.
everything works fine.
Good. Good. Okay. Because it seems like this is a very good solution. Um, how are they stored in the DB? Like, so basically, all right. There's a couple sections I guess we should talk about. So there's the API endpoints. That makes sense. Um, there's one question I have on user registration and flows and how that works. So I'm curious about that, right? There's API endpoints, and then there's the whole DB, the persistence, are like design. So those are two really interesting things to understand.
Yeah. So on user part, so there's a gen common user collection, which is this one user collection, and this user collection is used by user uh, model.
Mm-hmm.
Then this user model is has this functionality. So if the um, the developer wants to override the user, they just need to extend the base
Sure,
user, which
sure.
is the user,
Oh, I
then
yeah. Oh,
add some field.
dude, like, so I noticed you're using Pi.
Yes, sir. So
You can
I mean,
we have
okay.
classes now. We have classes now in the language. So, but I
Oh, you
mean,
mean I can do this now?
yeah, yeah, you could
Like
do that now. But then you'd have to turn it into Jack stuff. But we have proper classes. Um, I'm gonna have to add that to the document. You could keep it as Pi for now. It's all good. I mean,
okay.
it's good. And it's
But
fucking awesome.
this is an optional. So if they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to override the base user, which only has password, email,
Mm-hmm.
and ID,
Mm-hmm.
I think, and the root ID. So that will be the base. If they want to add additional field, they need to specify it here, like for example, age,
Yeah,
birthday,
yeah, sure,
and then
sure, sure.
override it, and it will automatically
C-
add it to the.
do you think? I honestly think we should have like a notion of get user, get like we have get root in the interface. I think we should make the interface. It would be cool if we could decouple. We could
Oh, if
decouple.
they
Yeah,
want
go ahead.
if they want to access the user, actually they can just trigger this one, user collection, then find one, find if they want to find everything.
Okay.
This will find all. Then there's some find by ID and find by email. There's some multiple ready
Mm-hmm.
uh
Yeah.
what do you call here?
Yeah, there's
Shortcut.
functions. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool,
Yep,
cool,
yep.
cool. So, and that's all in, like, where's that implement? Like, where's this file? This is all in
On the
simple walk
collection,
on the
on the
collection,
base collection.
base
This
collection,
one.
in collections. Okay.
So if they want to add additional collection, for example, user, they need to extend the base collection. They and just specify which what the collection name.
Mm-hmm.
Then excluded will be hidden on um, retrieval. So if you retrieve, for example, find one user, it will not include the password. So
Sure.
this is just for hiding things out. So
Sure, sure, sure.
then index, this will populate upon triggering the first query. So it
Mm-hmm.
will trigger the create index on the DB
Mm-hmm.
once. So it will, if it triggers one, it will not be triggered again. So here's
The,
the handling for the user collection. So for regarding node graph archetype, so if the node archetype has the collection too, where's that? On the
so,
collection. Oh, go ahead, sir.
so I was gonna ask a question. All right. Oh, I gotta understand your save stuff. But Um, I was gonna ask, could at the high level, I'm curious also to understand some of the design decisions you made when it comes to like which database to use. So V75 and Gamal, I mean not Gamal, Jamel. Jamel is using EdgeDB because it's like a graph database or something, and he's like really happy about it. And I know you're using Mongo, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I could see. Yeah, Mongo is very, very common, so that might be a good choice. But I don't even know. Yeah, that one. Yeah, and it's like fancy and new, like elegant graph like schema, all this stuff. So he's using this, and he has something working for this in his way. Um, but yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Actually, this is a uh, relational database, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
on our part, since we allow developers to specify our, specify their
Own graphs.
own context,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see.
uh, it will be um, useful to have a dynamic or non-relational
Mm-hmm.
database.
Okay.
That's the reason also why I use MongoDB,
Mongo.
because if we um, if we use a relational DB or SQL and SQL,
Mm-hmm.
we are required to have a to call it fixed structure
Right. True.
for the DB,
True.
and
That makes sense.
for the context part, since context is too too dynamic,
Right.
we can we can like for example on our Jaseci one,
Mm-hmm.
the context is saved as a one field,
Mm-hmm.
and if they want to update a single field
Yeah.
on that one field,
Yeah. Yeah.
it will
Yeah.
be updated as a whole.
Yeah. 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 100%. I'm with you. I'm with you. I got it. I like it. Okay. Good. Um. All right. Let's just jump. Like, what were you going to talk about next? Because I'm curious about this save stuff and how DB objects are saved and loaded. Um.
Okay, so on the archetypes, we now we also have this collection. This art collection have some built-in functionalities that like a shortcut
Okay,
functionalities
so you're
that
using our collection. So I guess on like, for instance, on like node anchor, I guess it's an arc collection of edges. Is that right?
basically it's just a extension of base collection with some additional fields, additional functionalities.
What's a base collection? Yeah.
This is the collection where we use, oh, on what we use on the user collection. This is the connection to DB.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. And so it's okay. So it's 1 dB per base collection.
One collection
Mm-hmm.
per base collection.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the DB connection is statically connected to this base collection. Then every extension of this, oh, so any extension of this base collection ad, will be connected to that um, database,
Mm-hmm.
and they will have their own collection based on the name.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
So this arc collection will be added to the node archetype. Then on also on edge archetype. So they have this, and that root will be will be from node archetype with some additional fields. So by the way, sir, do we support context on the root node and generic edge?
Do we support context on root node and generic edge? Not on generic edge, but on and not on root. This is a good question. Like that, but that's a. I don't think we should support context on generic edges because it'll lead to really complicated code that's just not easy to read. Now, the thing is, on root is a different story. Like I could imagine a world where you wanna like have a root schema that's like a user based. Like you might, because there's this weird thing that we end up doing a lot, which is, you know, every application, right? Like you'll have a root, but then you'll create one user node off of the root, right? So I could see a world where you might want to have has variables on root that you can define. So and the way that could be implemented is like you basically can override like the root. The syntax would look something like, I don't know if you can see my screen, but the syntax could look something like, because we have this notion of like, it look like this. I'll just type it and then you'll probably understand it. It could be like node, my root, and then it could be like root. You know what I mean? And then something like I could have some kind of syntax. Yeah, I could have some kind of syntax to support
Yeah, but
defining your own things. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but they can still do this, right? Something like this. So
Yep.
if they want to add some additional field, they can do this one.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
And this root
Oh,
can
true.
connect to the main root.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, okay. That's also another syntax that's actually better. I'm fine. I'm fine supporting that. Like, but we'd want to like just have a test
Okay,
case.
this is not currently supported.
Maybe it, maybe it is.
Okay, let me try.
B-
I'm not
well,
sure
no,
yet.
it shouldn't be. I don't think it would be because node root, because root is an object. It's not a class, and that would be a root class. You could override root if you understand the internals of Jack. There might be a way to do it.
Oh no, no. What I mean is the root should be. I mean the actual root of the user should be immutable
Mm.
and just
This would work.
not not
They can create a new root. Sure. Oh, go ahead. Let
yeah.
me
I
let you
think this
finish.
is
Yeah.
this is the most safest. Uh, I mean generating of a structure of their own root to have the context, since their root can be like removed anytime based on what they want to do
Hmm.
with their own root, but the actual root should be like immutable and just transferable. Wait,
Hmm.
I haven't discussed the access validation.
Hmm.
I can go there if you
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
want.
Let's go. Let's go.
Okay, so I implemented this. This is not fully implemented yet, but the structure are now added on the
Let me can I
database.
let me look at node anchor real quick. Uh,
Node Anchor.
tell me how the implications on node anchor. Like what were the
Oh, actually, node anchor is just overridden functionalities, but it will be the same with
Oh,
just
okay.
on the
Because
get edges. I will adjust the filtering,
got it, got it, got it, got
but
it,
it
got
will
it.
be the same.
Okay. Well, how does loading from the DB work though?
Loading from the DB is something like this. Wait. So the loading will start on the entry point.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, on the walker, if I so on this part, so uh this node or entry point will be loaded from the DB or this root. Where is that?
Mm.
This one. So this entry, I will get the entry and I will check the ID and get it from the collection. So basically, what happened is something like this. So if you have node, this is for example not a root entry. So for example, this is a node boy, then object ID, etc. So I will cut this tree. So I will
Mm-hmm.
get the n boy, then object. Yeah, since I can't save the class for the on the DB, I just can save the class name.
Mm-hmm.
So this class name is saved in Jack class.
Mm-hmm.
So Jack class has this list of nodes classes. So it will be something like this. So this is the root class. Then if you have boy class, it will be boy
This is kind of library of all the archetypes.
variable. Yeah, technically this will be
Okay.
the
Yeah, it's kind of like an
callback.
index. I see, I got you. So basically, as you're registering walkers or as you're registering node types and edge types, you're going to be updating this map of all the classes, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Then I have since I have this ID as reference, the get entry, so I will find it on the DB. Then I will override the entry point to be a actual object. So it
Hmm.
will be an node archetype now.
So, but yeah,
Then
but where does an access to the DB happen on the collection find by ID?
this one.
Yeah.
This will
Uh,
be
okay, and then you'll get the type, and then you'll okay, cool. So this is get entry. All right, and where's get entry called?
upon spawn call. So this one.
Okay, on a spawn. But what about on an access? Let's say this is the second login, right? I guess let me just well no let me just tell you. So let's say there's a second object and you want to traverse somebody's graph. So let's say there's 10 nodes in a list, right? Connected to each other. So it's a queue of 10 nodes, and you want to walk that queue. Are you going to load objects one at a time as you walk?
Wait. Let me show the. So the
Okay,
walk
go
will
ahead.
happen here, right?
Oh right. Yep. Okay. I see. Gotcha.
So um so uh I am lost now.
No, it's all good. No, it's all good. Yeah, take your time. Yeah.
It will be included on the next, right?
Right,
This
correct. So anything
it
on
will
next
be
is going to be something you should probably load from the DB, right?
yep.
But we also have
But
to load on arbitrary accesses. But go ahead. We can start here. Yeah, go ahead.
okay. So if you try to trigger the operator, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this will always the first trigger will happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since you don't have the object unless you initialize it.
Mm-hmm.
So because the first one you can add some here, right? Like a
Mm-hmm.
variable here because you don't
Mm-hmm.
have anything else,
Sure. Mm-hmm.
only the here, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is the current node. So the current node will trigger the get edges, which is the or is that get edges? Get edges or the edges to node.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
the logic on get edge is I will get all
Oh.
edges.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I will get everything that's not yet connected on the DB.
So
Is
what?
not yet
Yeah,
okay.
that's not yet loaded into the memory, right? Is what you mean?
Yeah.
So
So
what type is edges? What's the type of edges?
it's
It's edge
edge
archetype.
archetype or doc anchor.
Or doc anchor. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And so it'll replace itself with edge archetype when a doc
Yes.
anchor is accessed. But you have to have this populate thingy.
Yes. So wait. Yeah. So this I need to discuss this node anchor. Ay doc anchor.
Okay.
So this doc anchor will be the um base reference class. So it will have the type, which is node or edge, the name, which is the class name, the actual class name, the ID, which is the DB ID or the newly generated ID.
Mm-hmm.
The root will be uh the actual root owner. The access, this
Mm-hmm.
one,
Mm-hmm.
this is the one I'm talking earlier, which
Mm-hmm.
is will handle the um traversing process validation. So for example, if your doc access all is true, anyone that knows your ID or node ID can visit or can connect to your node if it's all true or like publicly available, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they can connect any of their nodes to to the specific node, which is all is true. Then these nodes, if you want to allow their nodes, specific nodes, to access your current node, you can add it. So for example, the syntax will be something like this. The current node boy that allow wait, is it allow yeah, allow allow nodes and their node ID. So basically it will include their ID here. So if they know your boy ID,
Mm-hmm.
they can connect their node to this boy ID and they can visit this boy.
Mm-hmm.
This route,
So
if
that
you
is that just
allow,
for permissions? Is that just a permissions thing?
yeah, this is for permission of accessing different nodes, not on your graph.
I see. So let's pause there for a second. So basically, in Jaseci 1, every object had like permissions information, right?
Yeah.
Like with a list of UUIDs that could access it, etc. So we don't really have something like that to create node isolation, right? So the DB could have nodes from multiple roots, right?
Again, sir, sorry.
Oh, so the DB, the singular MongoDB could have nodes from multiple roots, right?
Could have nodes
Oh,
from
nodes from. So each user has their own root node, and then they have their own graph, and all of those
yep,
objects from multiple users are in the same DB. I'm guessing.
yep, yep,
Okay, and so you want to have you want to have some security where if you are some root, like your access is coming from some user slash root, that user can't access the nodes of another user. And the way you achieve those permissions is through the doc access nodes list.
Yes, sir.
Let me think. So previously, every node would have the permissions list of who could access it, right? Like, have you like looked at that code in Jaseci 1? Like set perms type stuff?
Actually, not yet, sir.
Oh, okay. So you're building this from kind of like what makes sense intuitively. All right. Now let me mention something. So all right, let me share. I'll share. Let me share my screen. So here's the issue, right? So if I have like node Apple, and then it has a buddy that's of type, orange. Let's say, and then let's say node orange, whatever. So like you can have like Apple, and this is pseudocode. Apple connected to orange. I should probably, well, whatever. I'll deal with that later. Let's say Apple 1 connected to Apple 2 connected to orange, right? I might say Apple 1 dot buddy equals orange, and then this apple will actually have a variable in it that is of type orange, buddy. And then I would also need to do doc anchor for this type of access too, right? Not just walking, right?
Yep.
Is this supported by the current your current implementation?
Not yet, sir. But
Okay.
It will be converted to to doc anchor, which also converts to a string of
Okay.
ID.
So it's really just on the access, right? You would then convert it. Like you could implement this because, by the way, Python has this thing called, I don't know, access. No, it's called like fucking attribute get or something, attribute get or something, and then it has an adder set. So you can actually override this in your node anchor adder set. So you can override these functions that's on every object in Python. I forget what it's called. It's something like this. And then this could do your unraveling of doc anchor to archetype, right? It could be doc anchor to edge anchor or whatever, or node anchor, right? So you could actually implement this to use your system, but I don't know if this is scalable for the permission stuff, because every node is going to have, because you can do this, right, in the language, every node is going to have to keep a record of all the nodes connected to your root, right? You know what I mean? So like if your root has like, I don't know, like a bunch of nodes, I don't know, you have a bunch of nodes in your root, right? Essentially, if this is A and this is B, I could say A.buddy equals B. I can do that arbitrarily in your Walker code, right? And so basically A's list of nodes for permissions would have to include everything that's connected to the graph.
Wait, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
If A is on a different route.
Right. If A is on a different route, then it wouldn't be able to access B, right? So it wouldn't be able to do this. This would like be like permissions denied exception, right? But I'm just saying like the permissions. So let me describe how. I'm just gonna say okay. I'm gonna describe how it worked in Jack One. How permissions worked in Jack One. So I'm gonna draw it as this is a node, and then I'm gonna list the permissions here. Every node has an owner, right? And this is a UUID of the master, right? ID of the master, and then it has a and then every node, so this is every single node, and then every node would have like two lists. It would have like read only, I'll just do RO equals some list of other master UUIDs dot dot dot. So some list, and then every read write would have another list, and then there was like API calls to like explicitly, and this is on every node, right? So you could actually share a single node. So if you had another node here, you could actually share this node only with someone else. And the same applied to edges. They all had this permissions data, this access permissions data in every node. And then the check wasn't from a node accessing a node or a node referencing a node. The check was on the user, the master, right? Which in our case is root, kind of, or whatever, right? The UUID of that is what would be checked for permissions, and that was in the get and set functions inside of that memhook. So memhook would like enforce the permissions on get and sets of objects. Does that make sense?
Yeah, wait. Actually, that will be the. I mean, it's very similar, sir.
Okay. Okay. Okay, good. That's good. All right.
So, wait. Let me
Yeah, go ahead and share
try
if
to.
yeah.
Maybe there's some missing a validation check, but currently this is just a structure. I haven't added it
Sure.
actually on the trigger, but
Yeah.
on the actual implementation, basically it will be a nodes ID from a different graph. This is a roots ID
Oh.
also from a different user. Then maybe I can just add some level, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, don't have
for
yeah.
example.
We don't have to worry about level right now. We could just use I get it. So I don't really care about like read only versus that's easy once we solve the core thing. We could assume read write for everything. But so basically if the doc access has a user in it, this could be you might be right. So the roots basically if you have a root, but I guess oh, I see.
Okay,
So the roots would be
maybe I
allowed. So
need
if
to.
you have root access, it doesn't matter if you have node access. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
if you specify the roots,
Mm-hmm.
any graph, I mean any node
From
on
that
their
root
side
can access your.
can
Okay.
access this node.
Got it. Got it. That works. All right. We'll deal with levels later. That's like a small stupid. That should be easy to implement. But that actually works. Let me think. Because roots is actually what I was describing as one, and you've also added nodes, which just only adds even more flexibility, right? Like
Yep,
for
yep.
a developer. So that's cool. I think the thing that we do have to support is that a.buddy equals b. Like because I think I can see how it's implemented and working now for visiting, for walkers visiting.
Okay.
Um,
So if they for example, so here's the flow. So for example, A has body, uh, other node B, something like this.
yep.
So on the DB perspective, since this is not yet loaded from the DB, it's either string of something like node, other node name, then the ID. So if they want to connect this on DB, they can query this one. However, it will subject for their um, root ID and node ID. So basically, it will still check upon querying.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, something like find find ID is equal to something like this, then access that roots has a root, or access that nodes has a
Mm-hmm.
something like this. So the query will always happen like this
Mm-hmm.
upon checking the permission. So it will only load, or it will only connect the ID or the doc anchor
Mm-hmm.
if they have this access
Yeah.
or they are the actual root owner.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Did you have to update? So you're not doing any type checking at the moment, are you?
Um, what do you mean by type checking?
Like, like like is this type safe? Like that's the terminology. Like basically, for instance, on your doc anchor on your archetype anchor, the doc would have to be like on say node archetype, it has a field doc, and doc would have to have a type annotation of doc, not doc, jack. It has jack, and jack would have an
Jack.
annotation of either node anchor or doc anchor. Have you specified that? It's like TypeScripts. Like you have to have the types check out.
Yeah,
Um,
actually, I haven't changed this one. So, for example, this one, edges. Edges is list of
edge arc,
edge archetype, right?
but that yeah. Go ahead.
But on the actual trigger, it will be something like this.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Edge archetype dot
Doc
anchor.
archetype. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So you haven't updated the type stuff. Okay. Good. I'm very like dude, like if you stay type checked and type safe, like it just makes your code stronger. So we'll ultimately have to do that. But okay, this design sounds really this design sounds very reasonable. Um, okay, and now you're
But
yeah, go ahead.
actually, I'm thinking this kind of approach, but I'm not sure yet how big this change. But
Yeah, tell me.
I will draw it. But
Yep.
here's the idea. So, for example, this is the node archetype, right?
Mm-hmm.
Currently, the doc anchor is inside node archetype.
Mm-hmm.
Then, if I only have the doc anchor, if I try to connect it on DB, it will convert it to something like this.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm thinking is, what if oh, I have doc anchor, then this doc anchor is the base class. If I connect it to DB, it will be loaded something like this. So it's like it will expand the class to a
Oh.
node archetype, but
Oh.
still it will be a doc anchor.
So wait, how's this different than the first one? I thought that's what the first one was doing.
The first one is doc anchor is inside the node archetype.
Okay. And the other one is so basically you want to get rid of the dot underscore jack underscore basically.
Uh, no, sorry, just like doc anchor will be the base. Um,
Oh, it'd be the class itself and it expands. That could be
yeah,
cool. So in that way you yeah sure. Yeah. No, that's actually yeah, I like it. It's simpler. It's simpler conceptually instead of like
but I'm not sure how big it was, because what I'm thinking for
so,
the approach is we always load the. So for example, we have this doc anchor approach, right? It's like a partial load of the whole object. So I'm not sure if it will be big, but the approach will be we will only load the partial part of the node archetype, and it will be the reference when
Yeah,
connecting to edges or connecting to
I
node.
know, I know, I know. Like, I think I understand what you mean. You're just basically saying that the type of a dock anchor is going to be node archetype or edge archetype, essentially.
Yes, yes, yep.
And the thing is that the anchor itself doesn't contain that much information. It's the object. It's the object that. All right, all right, all right, all right. I think there's gaps in my understanding. So okay, do you have any examples? Have you well, like what have you tested? Like have you tested like simple walk? So simple walk just creates 10 nodes in a list, and then it just walks through the 10 nodes. Have you actually tested the functionality of this dock anchor replacement triggers load from DB?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
the approach is something like this. Uh, so on this part, I will load the voice
Mm-hmm.
on the post view. So it will get the where's that on the get edges. So if the node anchor or the node archetype doesn't load anything yet, so we can assume that the edges are all dock anchor.
Mm-hmm.
So on this trigger, so if they get edges, I will populate the edges. Then I can this dock archetype is it's either this is the parent of node archetype and edge archetype. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if it's a dock anchor,
Got it.
I will
Mm-hmm.
populate it, then um trigger it per archetype. So for example, I have node archetypes. I will trigger it as one query and set it to memory.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I will get all, then save everything to memory. Then uh upon get edges, so on get edges on this part, so I will just save everything to DB. Then I will try to uh create a new list for this one. So this will be generator expression for like converting. If it's still doc anchor, I will trigger the connect. If
Mm-hmm.
it's a connect, I will check if it's available on memory. If it's still not, I will try to uh search it on the DB and set it to the memory. But most likely it will be
Yeah.
on the memory. Then I will return the actual data. Then the list will be what's that? The list will be all no edge archetype.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But right now, since this is not yet updating the actual edges, right? But I'm still updating this part. But the the update will be these self edges will consist either edge archetype or dock anchor.
Mm-hmm.
It will only be an edge archetype if they already access that edge edge archetype. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, I access the first edge. I will update like for example, this is just code to be something like it like this. So basically, it will update the actual edge to be an actual edge archetype. So it doesn't be included. It will not be included on the DB query.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the approach will be the one I'm talking, that I'm loading a small part of the data, then
Mm-hmm.
I will delete this one, delete this one, and repopulate it with the bigger data.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what I'm trying to check if it's possible, if I'm loading the partial of data, then if I load it, I will not remove this data.
Yeah, yeah.
I will just extend this.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good design. I think that's cool. I'm just I don't know why is why would that be tricky? Um,
Oh, what I'm thinking is, since I'm changing from the plugin, I need to override the construct from object anchor.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think that's where
Okay. I mean, I
I need
think
to
it's
override.
all right. So let me think. So there's a lot. There's a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good design. Fuck. Let me think. I'm trying to think what I should strive to understand. So what I'm thinking, dude, is let me see if I can find this thing. There's like a Python has like this DB. Um, so here's the thing. So this is the real Jaseci. Okay. Now I'm gonna throw out a wacky idea. What I'm thinking is ultimately, um, ultimately, and I'll just do it like this. Hold on, so that you can see me to some degree. So you can see me now. But what I'm thinking is ultimately, I think what I'd like to do is take your plugin, create a branch called just Jack Lang underscore Jaseci. So it'd be like Jack Lang Jaseci or Jaseci Jack Lang, it doesn't matter. And we'll make that the Jaseci plugin to Jack Lang, right? So I'm thinking we should do that. But as part of that roadmap, so of course we could just pull out that directory. We can keep all of the commit history and then create a repo around it that is the Jack Lang Jaseci repo. And then we can work to continue to build that out, and then also get it documented and do all of that, right? So I think that's what we should do. But one thing I'd like to do on that journey is kind of redesign the core like what's it called? The core like data the data approach of like the construct and basically the library, the Jack library, to essentially mimic your design, and really be the final version of the design approach you're taking, but with like a local file, right? So like if you think of Jaseci core and js.session, like we used to have that js.session. Did you ever use that?
Yeah, on the JSC
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, JS session file. So we would have a fully functioning kind of persistence layer as like a silly JS session file. Python actually has stuff for this. Like, I gotta use ChatGPT to remember, but I was like, if I wanted to create key values, well, a DB in Python, using its standard libraries, what should I use? Its standard library. What should I use? And so here, there's SQLite, right? But that's overkill. There's actually another thing I found. Okay. What if I simply needed a key value store of Python objects? Like shelf. That was the one, shelf. So there's this shelf module that is like super cool. Like you just open my D thing as DB, and then you you can like put things in like this, you know, it's like super simple. It'll support Python objects and stuff. So it's like super lightweight, simple. But you could imagine replacing your MongoDB stuff with like a shelf, and that could be built in. We could talk about how we can build it in, but it would be like as much of the implementation structure as you have, like all your doc anchor stuff, all of that in the implementation using shelf. Does that make sense? Hello?
So basically, it will be a, let's say, currently my plugin is with the actual database.
Mm-hmm.
Then our plan is, for example, like an local storage
Mm-hmm.
type of simple
Yeah.
plan, something like that.
Exactly, inside Jacklang, and you'd commit all of the. We'll just get it into the baseline design, right? You can commit it as, and I could show you how this works real quick, but like for instance, there's this particular place where it's. Let me just find it. Register. I don't know, CMD. Oh no, register. It's one of these. Hold on. Like this. Like in this file, this is in the init of Jacklang. This is where we actually register like all the defaults. We would have one that's just built in. It'd be like PM register. This is essentially this is where we get the default behavior. So right now you can create nodes and edges and all that stuff, and it comes from here, right? If you remember. But we could also have a built-in shelf, like using shelf, like type thing we would also register that would just go into this directory, right? So we have in this directory we have feature, we have default, right? And then we could actually have maybe we just extend default, right? We could just extend default. Like think of it like that. It doesn't actually matter. We could just extend default to be the design that you've got and just applied here so that we can, because I think there's going to be some places you might want to extend the actual interface itself to make it more flexible, right? Like this interface that's in spec. So I think we'll end up doing that, right? Because like you said, you know, like that change that you just suggested, we may want to have like get doc anchor or something, you know, in the interface itself, or something related to some of the design decisions you're making around permissions, let's say, or like all that. You might want to have flexibility to build out your approach in a way that it can go into the baseline core Jacklang, and then at the same time co-designing the repo, the Jaseci repo itself, right? And I would be merging your PRs into core Jacklang to create a nice thing. What do you think of that? I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that's my concern on how big will be the change.
Yeah, yeah. So your concern is how much work it would be to do that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, so to me, it's a subset of the. To me, you've already done the work, right? It just gives you more flexibility in. So I mean, of course, we would start essentially with what you have, right? If what you have works, I would want to do it as small little PRs. Like let's say taking your current implementation and just making it work for Shelf, so we could merge it into. We could actually merge it into the core and create it as a standard. So let me explain the why behind this. Of course, you could just continue. You could just finish, like, let's say, Jaseci Jacklang in your. There's two reasons. Let me write it down as I talk it, right? So there's two reasons, right? So reason one that this would be good is. Let's just start with the first. If you do it all in your plugin, I'm still down to make. If we go this route, I'm still down to make that the official Jaseci, right? If you do it all in your plugin, then if people others,
Independent.
yeah, well, yeah, they'll depend on that's one, but others may do um, their own crazy designs as plugins without having like standards that they follow as a guide.
I see.
So I really would want to have a standard that people can build on top of with their own plugins, right? The second reason is, and just knowing how this happens, like you may also end up doing crazy, like unnatural things for the Jaseci because you're working around like the current standards, right? Because you may want to be able to create a Jaseci, for instance, where off is its own thing that could be kind of engineered as its own plugin, like so, like you're actually you're kind of stuck with a monolith design. So you'll end up doing like these interesting, crazy things for the Jaseci because you're working around current standard and you're not able to redesign Jack Lang core, right? So if it's like this, right? Let me just paint what I'm trying to say. So if it's like this is like what's happening, right? There's Jack Lang core, right? And then you're building this like big Jaseci, right? Like I think it would be better to be like there's Jack Lang core, then there's like kind of like the architectural protocol, and then you can build a Jaseci here where like this protocol like matches, and this protocol gives you flexibility to like kind of design, because then this will be Jack, right, instead of this being Jack. So I think this is good because then you'll have flexibility to span both, and I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's necessarily going to be, because really right now all it is you're just going to pluck out some amount of this stuff, which is really just the classes that are assumed to be part of the interface, right? So you're going to create a doc anchor class in the Svelte thing, and then you're going to have like when you're accessing the Svelte DB, you will be exploding the like that design you described, right? That could be in the core, and then you're just kind of overriding it like with your Jack Lang, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Let me
Yeah,
let me think.
actually, I agree on that one since
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm like want to have the standard also on the core instead on
Mm-hmm.
my plugin.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah, like, um, let me think. But the thing is, so what's next on? Let's just go here, right? So I think I have just enough that I can read the code if I wanted to and try to understand more. Um, but I think maybe we could roadmap like this felt thing just to get doc anchors and the DB reading and writing. So we wouldn't even do it. Like honestly, to tell you the truth, the standards I care about the most has nothing to do with fast API, right? It really just deals with the memory, the how the graph is represented in memory, right? And so I think I'm just trying to think how we should do this, right? Because you're probably just sprinting ahead with the design of getting Jaseci like running, right? Your Jaseci running. Um, do you think? Well, what do you think about this? Like, how would you want to? How do you think about it? And remember, like, I mean, what I'm debating is perhaps you can just keep going, and then we can pull into the standard pieces of what you're doing. Maybe I can do some of that hacking. If you're busy working on Jaseci, maybe we can find someone that can help do some of that hacking. Um, eh, or you could just make PRs against just Jack Lang core, and I could just accept them. We could just rapidly like accept them. So, well, what do you think about that? Like,
Uh, what I think is, how about I transfer the structure from my like construct, my
mm,
plugin construct, which is node
mm-hmm,
anchor, node archetype, doc anchor,
mm-hmm,
to core and
mm-hmm.
just use it instead of my plugin. So we can like like part
Yeah,
by part migrate it to
right,
core.
right, right, right. Right. No, that's a good idea. And you could just use this a thin just ran like default felt that's created, right? For testing and stuff. A shelf,
Wait.
that's felt.
On the core,
Hmm.
our default would be the shelves
Yeah.
or
Yeah, yeah. We would just do a default shelf. Because
okay, yeah.
we don't want to have dependencies, right? So being that this comes with Python, we could have a full implementation just using shelf. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I guess that would look like just bringing the doc anchor stuff and the way doc anchor is just that piece. You could just bring into, and you could just do it in construct, or you could create another file like if you wanted to, if it's too big or something, and you could just do a small PR. Like if you did a small PR, then I can accept it, and then that'll become a standard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still need to uh check. So basically my concern is currently on our classes, node archetype is a data class, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it holds the context.
Mm-hmm.
Since it holds the context, um I'm not sure yet how I can merge the doc anchor fields that will not conflict node archetypes fields.
You could mix them. Let me see your actually share your screen. Let's see your doc anchor. Let's see your doc anchor class actually.
Uh, Here.
Okay. So
In
doc anchor is a data class. What's the issue?
Yeah, so I do it as a data class since
Cool.
this doc anchor is connected to just a single field for what's that doc archetype. This doc archetype is just
The
an
base class.
additional
It'll be an additional base class. Let me see doc archetype real quick.
doc
Let, yeah,
archetype.
just go back to that class. Let me just see. Okay, so this is a regular class, and it doesn't have any. It just functions.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Um,
So
so
I have a property for like Jack doc. So this will be the holder of that doc
got
anchor.
it. Mm-hmm. Got it.
And this is just to ignore the data class of the node archetype.
Okay.
So I can still have the Jack doc field.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Then since I can what I'm thinking is what if our node archetype have the context instead
Mm-hmm.
as the holder of the current fields of that instead of the doc anchor is the one separated to jack doc. What I'm thinking is something like this. So the first class, so for example, base class will have ID, then the type. Then there is a function of connect, for example. If they trigger the connect, this base class will be node, node class, node class. Then it will be connected through, then it will have context,
Mm-hmm.
something like this. So that's what I'm thinking. But I'm not sure how it will be implemented. But
I know, I know,
the
I
approach
know,
that
I know.
we
Yeah, I think I know
mentioned.
what you mean. What does that increase or decrease complexity from the current design of replacing the dock anchor with the node? What's the downsides of replacing dock anchor with node archetype?
I mean, I can. I mean, the
Is it more confusing, less maintainable long term? Is that what you're thinking?
actually the data gets too populated of an additional fields, because currently if I merge a additional field, technically it will be this jackdoc will be part of the
Yeah, I know what you mean.
um
It'll be part of
fields
the
of,
fields, of course. Yeah.
yeah. What I'm trying is I want to isolate every every field for that archetype, so
Mm-hmm.
that for example they have context, only context will be on the context field.
Okay.
So
I know. Yeah, the context would be the data fields, right?
yeah, yeah.
From the thing, from the data class. I'm just the thing is people are gonna. The part that I'm unsure about is people might want to manipulate it. It's gonna have to kind of be compatible with all kinds of Python like interactions with the class, you know. And so I gotta like really, and it's hard for me to visualize in my head what this looks like.
So
Yeah,
what I'm thinking is we will have a base context, something like this. We will have base context. This will be the uh, class of this context.
would we
And
still
it
be
will,
able to? Yeah, I know, but would we still be able to say, um, let's say A is one of these. Like A is a node type. It's an object of a node of one of these, right? So let me just use my screen real quick. Let me just use my notes. Notes. So let's say A is one of these, right? So we've got like node object A. Oh, node A, right? And it has foo, whatever. Would we still be able to say like okay, and then A dot foo equals 7, equals 5? Like I'm just wondering if foo becomes the context of some other class, would we be able to just do that in the design you have in your head?
no sir, it will be a um overrided base context too, similar to node archetype. No,
Okay.
we extend node archetype, right?
Is
Upon
this going to increase or decrease complexity of the code base for maintaining it for the future? Is it simpler to understand with the replacement approach, or would it be simpler to understand the code for like a new coder with
in my
this? Yeah, in your
yeah,
opinion.
in my perspective, initially it will be complex, more complex than that. But if we have like finalize it, I think upon like seeing the a simple node archetype, they will know where the context will go and what type of that node archetype. I mean, it will be complex at first, but it will be simpler once we finalize it,
Hmm.
because
There,
everything is like on place, or everything is segregated, or everything is isolated on what their part on the actual node archetype. So for example, currently when I check the node archetype, we don't know where the context is where the context will behold until you check the make archetype. Because on make archetype, we override the node archetype, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we encapsulate it on a data class and override the init part. But if we have the node archetype with the holder for each field that represent on the
All right.
DB, which is
So okay.
context,
So
absolute.
all right. So let's just talk through this so that I can visualize the full thing. Okay. So currently, what happens in the back end is node A is going to turn into it's going to then become essentially node A that is a node archetype. Node that's a node archetype, right?
Yep.
Right, and so it becomes this, and then that means it's going to have a. I'll just tab this in. So this is like pseudo AF. It'll have a jack
Yeah.
that is a node anchor, right? Well, okay, so that'll happen to. So when I create an object, so if I say node, if I say node A, my node, let's call it my node, then my node dot underscore jack is going to be a node archetype, right? A node anchor, right?
Yep.
Okay. Where does the doc anchor go actually? Is doc anchor in here?
Yeah, my node that. Yep.
So then there's a doc anchor. And so, okay, and then if I have, all right. If I do this, oh, let me just say, this is wrong, sorry. So if I say my node.foo equals node A, the D, what's, okay, let's say that, okay, so this hasn't. So then, okay, so now this is on the first, oh, can I pull this out? Yes, I can pull it out. So this is on the first invocation, right, of sequence. Now this is gonna save. Now we're gonna save my node. Okay, it's saved, all right? So my node.foo is a node, my node.a is a node. Now the next time I log in, I just logged in, and this is connected to root. Let's say root connects my node, okay? Then I save. I save the root, I save my node, everything saves, right?
Yep.
Okay, so everything's saved. We created a my node. It has a foo that's also a my node. Okay, good. Now the next time I log in, this is the next invocation. I'm like, okay, x equals, my node, okay? So now x is my, let's call it my node. All right, this is redundant. Okay, so now I've just loaded my node. So my node, what's my node? Okay, so root accesses, okay, what's my node.foo.jack at this stage? What is that? Is this a doc archetype? Doc anchor?
You can act. It depends. Oh wait, you own node A. Yeah, it will be node A.
Maybe a node archetype?
Yeah, if you have the permission, it should be automatically loaded.
Yeah, let's say, so not running this. So we're not running this. I'm just asking in memory. So we're not running this, okay? I'm just actually going to inspect this value. So I'm just going to inspect this value.
Oh, it will be a string.
A string?
The jack.
Yeah, the jack.
No, the jack will be not. You can't access the jack. The foo will be an.
Oh,
string.
so what's the string going to say? Doc anchor? What is it going to? Oh. The
Yeah,
foo is going
like
to be
a
string.
doc anchor reference ID, something like that.
Okay.
Reference ID.
So it's going to be that thing you had with the n colon blah.
Yep, yep,
So it's an ID for the DB.
yep.
Okay. Where would there be a doc anchor? Where would there be a doc anchor?
If it's loaded or accessed, so if you try to mynode.foo, it will be initially a doc anchor.
You just said it's a string.
And doc
You just said it's
or
a string.
if so there's a so for example you're accessing it on for example you load the node, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's on edge, it will load it as doc anchor since you need it as a actual object if it's a edges, but since you put it on the context, I will not load the doc anchor until you trigger it, since I will only save it as a ID to like reference it. You need to trigger it like a load function to open it.
All right, all right, all right. All right, let me think. Okay. Maybe I gotta read the code and step through it, but let's talk about the design. Let's just talk about the design. This is a really good session here. Let's just talk about the design. Currently, okay, so there's a DB, right? This is the DB, right? The DB will have the user's root, right?
Yep.
So when the program starts, I'm gonna represent the program running like this. This is time, and the program's running. So when the program starts and the user logs in, and we call the walker, so the walker is gonna start, right? It's gonna start on root, okay? So the walker starts. The root object is gonna be loaded, right? Now the root has an edge. It has an edge.
Yep.
In the root node. How is this edge represented here?
Doc anchor.
Okay, the edge is a doc anchor. So this is going to be a doc anchor. Okay. So the edge is a doc anchor. We haven't walked the edge or we haven't loaded the edge yet. Now we have x equals edge. Okay. So at this point, let's say this is memory. This is the DB, this is memory. This is memory. So the root, R, that's R, is now here, R. Okay? When we started the thing, the edge was still, the edge was then a doc anchor, right?
Yep.
I'll just do edge circle to represent doc anchored. Or actually, let's use edge to be a doc anchor here. And this is the edge circle as an object, okay? So at this point, the edge becomes this actual edge archetype. So this was a doc anchor. So man, forget this part. Let me just erase this part. Oh, why does it do this? It's such a stupid design. So like, just disregard that. Oh crap! And now the brushes, they really need to make this program better. Jesus, Microsoft, come on. Okay, so now we have the edge, and then and then internally, so we won't move to the next operation. We won't do anything with X. But internally, we get the edge, and then and then this is the node. Let's say this is the node. This is some node that this edge is connected to. Then we automatically, because we're still executing this, then we'll load the node at that point into memory, right? And that will be the node archetype, not a doc anchor, right? So when we load this, we would have then a node doc anchor,
When
and then the node doc anchor would
you
turn into a
load
node. Yeah.
when you load the so on the middle part the arrow with the loaded edge archetype, upon loading that edge archetype,
Mm.
the node will still be doc anchor.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, gotcha. So this goes in. I could just do it like this, actually. Okay. So then this is a doc anchor that then so two operations happen, right? Basically, we have this operation, and then we have a doc anchor to it, and then we have this operation. So now we have the node, right? Okay. Now this node has edges off of it, and those will be doc anchors.
Yep.
Right? So those will be this. But they would be nodes here, right? So you'd have all these nodes off of it. So the actual nodes would be, this is the this is the edge archetype, sorry. This will be edge archetypes here, but it'll be doc anchors here. So I'll just do the skinny to represent doc anchors, right?
Yep.
But these won't be resolved yet because we didn't access them. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So that's the design. I think what I should do, honestly, is I should write a PR for this for the shelf thing. I should write a PR and then you should review it. You know what I mean? Just to make sure, because I think I wanna that's gonna help me understand. You know. What do you think? So basically, all I would do is I would write a PR, and this PR would just have basically the requirements of the PR would be, you can run a Jack program like simple walk. The next time you run the same program, it'll load the shelf, and whatever graph was created would be present, and then I can simple walk it again. That's all I would write, is to that spec, right? And I would implement. I'd kind of look at your code too to use the same classes, like you call it doc anchor, so I think I would call it doc anchor too, and I would try to implement this behavior, loading like 10 nodes in a sequence. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I would use it with shelf, and here's the reason, right? Like, I mean, I'd love for you to do it, right? Of course. Like, if you had infinite Alexies, I'd be like, spawn an Alexie and have them do that. But I know that you're running forward on your Jaseci design. I think this makes sense. I think I understand your permission stuff. I think it's all good. So maybe you could just continue, and then we can stay synced as I build some core stuff. And then I'll come up with ideas as to how like the interface should change to essentially make your implementation more natural, you know, and keep the standards. Maybe that's how we should skin this cat. What do you think of that idea?
Actually, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Is there something you would prefer? Would you prefer to do it yourself, or
Um, I wanna try to like PR what I think the uh standard construct,
yeah.
but I'm still not sure, but I have some concept to show to you how
Yeah.
we can standardize the archetypes.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Wait, I think I can show it to you like for like a simple approach.
Okay.
Uh, uh,
Yeah. Please do. I mean, I only got 7 more minutes, but then I'll be back. I'll be back in an hour after that. So I have to drop for an hour, and I got 7 minutes.
I'm not sure if I will be available later since
Oh, okay. All right.
I
Well,
have some.
all right.
Yeah, but I will discuss this first. So
Okay, but hold on.
if
One quick thing, dude. What I'm gonna do is let me screen cap let me screen cap this bad boy. And if you can, what do you use for diagramming? Like, are you relatively kind of like you could use whatever diagramming tool you've ever used, and it would be nice for us to be able to have like a working document where you can diagram stuff that using this similar style that kind of explains behavior. You know what I mean? Maybe paint. Maybe we should just create like a
Yeah,
yeah.
I can use the. Are you familiar with visual paradigm?
I'll get familiar. Whatever you're comfortable with, man. I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do a sequence diagram there. I
Okay.
can like give
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
example.
Do one to kind of complain. Not complain. Explain. Do do one to explain how your current version works, and then we could use it as a tool that describes it. Ultimately, we might probably make it part of the spec. Okay, all right, go ahead and explain that thing.
Okay, so if you have a node node A, let's say you have
Mm-hmm.
node A, it will be something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But right now it has the field one, field two, right? So what I'm thinking is we have the base ID, which is the, let's say, node archetype, just physical, then the ID, the name, or we don't need the name. Oh yeah, actually, type. This is the base. Then we also have the base context as. Then this will now have the node archetype ID name. Then this will be the first loaded value. This will be similar to node block anchor. So it doesn't have any details. Oh wait, let's say, oh sorry. I think it would be, and this one has the edges. Then this has the context. Then this context is based on a class extend base context, similar to what we currently do. So basically, we only load initially the doc archetype,
Mm-hmm.
and then we will explode it with some connect functionality. And if they connect, it will add the edges and the context. Oh wait, that's something like this.
Edges and the
Something like
context. And then where does the doc archetype go? Like how node archetype derives doc archetype with ID name type. Basically, you're just bringing all of these fields into the node archetype.
yes,
Okay.
and the context will now be the auto generated on the
Yeah, no, I
object.
understand that. Like honestly, to tell you the truth, dude, this is how the first design worked. Where node archetype would keep all of the relevant bookkeeping information, let's say, and it would use underscore jack underscore name of bookkeeping information. And then I made the design decision to literally take all of the bookkeeping information and make that the archetype, the anchor. And so, but I think the context of A, you see, I think the interesting thing that you're doing is I left the context of A inside of A because as people code with these objects, I envisioned they would be referring to the context of their class, right? Because A can be a Python, the full spectrum of the Python class is context that someone would define. because they might want to do meta classes on these things. They might want to do decorators on the classes that looks up fields and shit like that. So I was like, I have to keep the context that they wrote in node A at the top here. I have to keep that context one-to-one mapping to a class version of it if they did it in pure Python. And then all of the bookkeeping and all of the other stuff needs to be added to that context. So if you're trying to make a context, let me just use my notepad here maybe. Go ahead.
I mean, to counter argue your
Okay.
initial thought,
Sure.
yeah, but I think since their class, for example, they create a node A, this class is technically not a one class, right? Because
Yeah.
we
It has
embed
base classes, right?
additional, yeah,
Yeah.
we will override it to a node archetype, and it will include
It'll include additional
additional
stuff.
fields.
It'll include
Yeah.
It'll include one additional field, underscore jack underscore.
So basically,
It'll include one additional field, but everything else will be the same, right?
yeah. So it should technically be a like additional fields, then
Context.
their context.
Right.
There has something. The has statement will be on a different folder, which is the context,
Right.
something like that.
Right.
So that's why I'm
Right.
proposing this.
Yeah, but this changes the dir or the underscore dict underscore, right? So if a user is hacking in this, you know what I mean by dir or vars or underscore dict underscore?
Yep.
So
Yep.
in the design that I kind of did initially so far is the vars or the dict, the underscore dict underscore would be everything they would normally expect, except there'd be one addition of an underscore jack underscore. So that's actually the
I see.
yeah. So I went for that because if they're coding and they're just referencing things with dict and I wanted to really give them the maximum possible Python perfect mapping, and then just adding one little underscore jack underscore to what they would normally expect if they were hacking it like Python. So all right. So think about that. Let's look at the diagram. Do you want to do that one simple PR, or should I because I know you probably because okay, either I do it and you review it, or you do it and I review it. Well, how do you think we should do it? How do you want to do it?
Which PR is it?
Oh, it's just
Shelf?
yeah, just a shelf, simple, like what we diagrammed, like that diagram. Where is it? Like what we diagrammed, but just implementing that. This would be your shelf. I don't know if you're looking at my screen, but should be your shelf. This will be your shelf DB, and then we would just have like a program that just ran through like accessing 10 nodes in a chain that would do this with your shelf. That's it.
Wait, actually, I think I need to do the sequence diagram first so we can visualize what we really want to accomplish.
Okay.
We can like step by step procedure of what will happen if we implement the shelves.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I basically it would be good if it behaved like what you're currently building in Jaseci, basically. Or yeah, no rules, man. Do whatever you think makes sense. But we can start with the diagram, we can start with the diagram, and then we can implement to that. Yeah, and we could decide who's reviewing whose code. I'm cool either way. And I'll leave it up to you. I'll make that your decision. Anyway, I gotta hop to that other meeting. But
Okay, so
yeah, man, good stuff, man. Good chatting with you, dude. Yeah, this is really, really helpful. This is awesome. All right, all right, man. Yep. Talk soon.
thank you. Bye bye.
Yep. Later. Yep. Bye. All right, guys. If anybody was, kind of, it's probably unlikely you were totally following along, but I'm gonna be doing some hacking in like an hour. So, cool. I'm gonna hop off stream for a minute. I got this meeting. Awesome. Later, guys.